So we will try and complete we will complete the 13th chapter today. And then next week we will start chapter 14. So anyone remembers what we discussed in the previous class? Chapter 13?
Object of knowledge.
So we discussed about object of knowledge. Can you elaborate?
Krishna explains that you can know the external knowledge only through spiritual master. And super soul exists in everyone.
Any additions to that? Anyone who has made notes? Yes, bro.
So we discussed that living entity. We learned about what is knowledge and what is the object of the knowledge. Knowledge is like basically knowing the field and the two knowers of the field, which are the soul and the super soul. So that's knowledge. The object of the knowledge is paramatma, the super soul, like Krishna Consciousness basically. And then we learned about the process, like the two key processes, like which will take you to the Krishna Consciousness. The two key processes is like having a bona fide spiritual master, and the second one was always remember the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. And just remembering those ones will take you further to the Krishna Consciousness. We also discussed about the different processes, like 20 qualities of the Vaishnavas, which will take you, that's a process. But that process in itself, it can be a material until unless you put Krishna into the center. Otherwise, those processes will take you to, it can be transcendental, it will take you, it's not a material activity, but it is a process. If you don't put Krishna into the center, then those are material activities. So if you are looking at the field of activity, those processes will otherwise become field of activities rather than transcendental activities which will take you to Krishna. And basically the other important which we discussed was the unalloyed devotional service to the Lord and the surrender to the Lord, the Krishna Ekam Sarana. So these are the two main, to take you to the Krishna Consciousness.
Okay. You want to add?
No, Guruji, I was just going to say, living entity is limited by its interaction of body, mind, and karma. And so to get out of this limitation, we have to develop knowledge, which then Prabhuji explained the verses 8 to 12 about the process.
Okay. So today we will continue from verse 20 onwards. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. Damodar, you want to read?
By the knowledge given in this chapter, one can understand the body, the field of activities, and the knower of the body, both the individual soul and the super soul. The body is the field of activity and is composed of material nature. The individual soul is embodied in the enjoying the activities of the body is the Purusha, or the living entity. He is one knower, and the other is the super soul. Of course, it is to be understood that both the super soul and the individual entity are different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entity is in the category of his energy, and the super soul is in the category of his personal expansion. Both material nature and the living entity are eternal. That is to say that they exist before the creation. The material manifestation is from the energy of the Supreme Lord, and so also are the living entities. But the living entities are of the superior energy. Both the living entities and the material nature existed before this cosmos was manifested. Material nature was absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu, and when it was required. It was manifested by the agency of Mahatattva. Similarly, the living entities are also in him. And because they are conditioned, they are averse to serving the Supreme Lord. Thus, they are not allowed to enter into the spiritual sky. But with the coming forth of material nature, these living entities are again given a chance to act in the material world and prepare themselves to enter into the spiritual world. That is the mystery of the material creation. Actually, the living entity is originally the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But due to his rebellious nature, he is conditioned within the material nature. It really does not matter how these living entities or superior entities of the Supreme Lord have come in contact with material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead knows, however, how and why this actually took place. In the scriptures, the Lord says that those attracted by the material nature are undergoing the hard struggle for existence. But we should know it with certainty from the descriptions of these few verses that the transformation and influences of material nature by the three modes are also products of the material nature. All transformations and variety in respect to living entities are due to the body. As far as the spirit is concerned, living entities are all the same.
Okay. Subhiksha Mataji, you want to take a chair? Are you comfortable there?
It's okay.
Sure. Okay. What are the points here?
From this verse onwards, we're talking about soul and super soul.
Anything else?
Talking about Purusha. Body is the field and the enjoyer. Soul is the enjoyer. Purusha.
Purusha with a small p. There is a big Purusha with a big p, which is the super soul. Alright. So, there are 5 subject matters of the Bhagavad Gita. What are the 5 subject matters, basic subject matters of the Bhagavad Gita? Anyone who is not sure, what are the 5 subject matters of the Bhagavad Gita? Everyone knows? Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala and Karma. Now, it is mentioned that here that Jiva is the knower. Jiva is the knower of his own body and Paramatma is the knower of all the bodies. So Jiva is the Kshetrajna as far as his Kshetra is concerned. Paramatma is the Kshetrajna of all Kshetras. Universal Kshetrajna. And as I was mentioning to Parameshti Prabhu, okay, Jiva is also referred to as Purusha. Jiva is also the enjoyer, but he is Chota enjoyer, small enjoyer. He is a Purusha with the small p. And Paramatma is, or Bhagavan is the ultimate enjoyer, the big P, Purusha. Now the key difference between the Jiva and the Paramatma, that's the point to be noted in this section, is that the Jiva is in the category of the Lord's energy, whereas Paramatma is in the category of the Lord's expansion. So on one hand is energy and one is expansion. So that is the key point that is coming across. Personal expansion of the Lord, Paramatma, and localized expansion. Both Jiva and Prakriti are eternal. And both Jiva and Prakriti existed before creation. Now how do we understand that Prakriti existed before creation? Because we always know that Prakriti comes into picture only after creation. How do we understand it is existing before creation here?
It's part of the absorbed.
So Prakriti exists in its inactive state, in the primordial state, correct? As Pradhana, right? as Pradhan, it exists before Visarga, secondary creation. And then Pradhan becomes Mahat Tattva by the glance of Vishnu. Right? And then the Pradhan is then agitated into Mahat Tattva. And then the souls are released into this Mahat Tattva. Whichever souls are Bahirmukhi, who are still not liberated, then they are released back into the material universe. This morning also in Bhagavatam class we were discussing that. Okay. Because we are doing the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, the second canto, the 9th chapter, fully deals with this subject matter. Very nicely. How Brahma sat on the lotus flower and how he did not know what to do in the secondary creation when he prays to the Lord. So, and then he releases the soul. After his prayers, he releases the souls into the secondary creation. That's how all of us are here. So, both the Jiva exists in a state of Shushupti or deep sleep inside the body of Mahavishnu, and the Prakriti exists in an inactive or unagitated state. Again, in one corner of the spiritual sky. Prabhupada writes this, I believe in the first canto or somewhere. In one corner of the spiritual sky is a dark cloud which is called as Pradhan. When it is glanced, then it becomes Mahat Tattva, and then the universes come out. So, it is also mentioned here that Prakriti undergoes transformation or Vikar. It undergoes transformation, whereas the Jiva remains the same. Which means what? In other words, what are we saying? The soul remains the same, whereas what undergoes transformation is the gross as well as the subtle body. So these are the points that are coming across in this purport. So, although the Jiva or the soul, which is made of the higher energy of the Lord, which is spirit, is unchanged, because it associates itself with the body. Therefore, apparently the Jiva thinks that things are changing. Therefore, someone calls himself as a young man, someone calls himself as teenager, youth, old age. Actually, all that is pertaining only to the body, Prakriti. The soul is neither young nor old. It is beginningless, anadi, and it does not change. There is no transformation. So those are the key points coming here. However, and also it is said that the relationship between the living entity and the changes caused by material nature, that these two, the science of this is explained in this particular section. It will come now. Jiva and Prakriti, that relationship is going to come now in the next few verses. Actually, I'll wait to explain this till we read further on. I wanted to mention something, but I'll wait. Let us go through the next few verses and then it will be clear. So is this clear so far? Nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. So this is a nice purport here. So we will read this one. Gauri Mataji, where is she going? Not here? Okay. Alright, so who wants to read this time? Mataji. Prema Tarangini Mataji, you want to read?
Different manifestations of body and senses among the living entities are due to material nature. There are 84 different species of life, and these varieties are creations of the material nature. They arise from the different sensual pleasures of the living entity, who thus desire to live in this body or that. When he is put into different bodies, he enjoys different kinds of happiness and distress. His material happiness and distress are due to his body, and not to himself as he is. In his original state, there is no doubt of enjoyment. Therefore, that is his real state. Because of the desire to lord it over the material nature, he is in the material world. In the spiritual world, there is no such thing. The spiritual world is pure. But in the material world, everyone is struggling hard to acquire different kinds of pleasures for the body. It might be more clear to state that this body is the effect of the senses. The senses are instruments for gratifying desire. Now the sum total body and instrument senses are offered by material nature, and as will be clear in the next verse, the living entity is blessed or damned with circumstances according to his past desires and activities. According to one's desires and activities, material nature places one in various residential quarters. The being himself is the cause of his attaining such residential quarters, and his attendant enjoyment or suffering. Once placed in some particular kind of body, he comes under the control of nature because of the body. Being matter acts according to the laws of nature. At that time, the living entity has no power to change that law. Suppose an entity is put into the body of a dog. As soon as he put into the body of a dog, he must act like a dog. He cannot act otherwise. And if the living entity is put into the body of a hog, then he is forced to eat stool and act like a hog. Similarly, if the living entity is put into the body of a demigod, he must act according to his body. This is the law of nature. But in a circumstances, the super soul is within the individual soul. That is explained in the Vedas as follows: Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. The Supreme Lord is so kind upon the living entity that he always accompanies the individual soul and in all circumstances is present as a super soul or paramatma.
What are the points here? Yes?
So again, who is the doer is being discussed. The one that the point that we discussed in chapter 5. Again, the point of, in 6th chapter we discussed who is the doer. So, material nature is actually, even though the cause, the actual cause is the living entity's desire, which is what is being, what Bhakti Prabhu points out. Who is the doer?
So you have studied and come. Good. The moment you said you are the doer, I realized you have studied and come. Okay, good. Anything else?
Lord is so merciful that whatever the living entity enjoys, Lord gives us the form, like He gives the example of where living entity wants to enjoy, so Lord gives us how can enjoy the industry.
Take
Lord
this
is
body.
so merciful.
Anything else?
Travels as paramatma with the body, with the soul, regardless of whatever form the Jiva takes. He never leaves company, so he's always there.
Okay. So as Rishabh Prabhu pointed out, this text again talks about who is the doer. But essentially in these sections, as I mentioned before, the relationship between the living entity and the changes that Prakriti is causing, those are discussed here. Jiva and Prakriti are being discussed here. 5 subject matters of Bhagavad Gita. Please go back to that. Now, it is mentioned that I know who it is. This is a typical sound. Only one person can make it. So Hemang. It's ascending order of crying. All right. Is there some? They are able to hear this on some screen.
TV.
TV.
TV is there, but last week Temuri Mataji and Dara Mataji were standing near the TV,
Oh, is
but
it?
still they could not.
This is like the Bombay, Panwala. Cricket match is going on.
They
People
just
stand
need to
near the
press the
TV.
volume
and
button and they can
But yeah, because of
the noise.
Okay. So the discussion on karma, desire and karma kicks in here. That's a key point. Desire and karma. That's the basic discussion that's coming here. So as Parameshti Prabhu pointed out, the Jiva gets a body proposed or which is befitting his desire. So therefore it is very important in this lifetime to desire the right things. If we desire something and it is not fulfilled, and if it's a material desire, then we have to come back into this material world. So we have to be very careful who we associate with in this world. Okay? Again there is noise. Sarveshwari Mataji, who is strong person in this room? Who can really like a teacher, go and very strongly tell. Otherwise then they can hear it offline, on the computer later on. So they can probably go home and then hear it later on. We may not, this TV thing is not working, looks like. They are able to hear, but I am not able to hear what I am speaking.
This hall is not working.
Huh?
This hall
infrastructure is not suiting. Then you can contact Suvarna Krishna Prabhu and book Mary Keho Center. Maybe that will help.
It is not available at this time.
Not available, yes.
Last week we discussed that a temple kit is available.
Temple theatre is available.
Yeah.
Temple theatre is available.
So let us do it there.
But I sent an email now.
To what? What did I say?
That Achitrabhu Mataji had said that we can use it as a trial basis.
Yes.
For 1 week to
Yes.
begin with.
Yes.
And see how much mess kids make in the reception. And accordingly she will allow for the following week.
Okay, I'll ask Yamunala to speak to Mataji because unfortunately our kids are the last to leave that room. Okay. And why I am using the word unfortunately is because the kids who were there in the children's class before that would have already made whatever mess, but it would seem as if the last person who has left has made the mess. Okay, so I'll ask Yamunala to talk to Achintru Mataji and see what to do. It doesn't mean that we don't have any responsibility. Obviously, we still need to control our children, but the conclusion automatically cannot be that mess has been created only by children because of the Bhakti Sastri. And one good one good evidence for that is that already is there mess over the last few weeks. If the answer is yes, that means it has got nothing to do with the Bhakti Shastri because we are doing the course here. So can you find all these facts out? We'll go with data points. In office also we go with data points to a meeting. So we'll go to data points which nobody can refute. Like that.
I think because of the fact that Mataji is allowing already, so there are other classes that are taking place there. Because of that fact, I believe there is less mess. That is why she is allowing at the moment.
Okay.
So children under supervision.
So I don't know the right answer. Okay. So if all the parents can ensure the children will not make a mess, we can go and comfortably do the class. It's easier for me also.
Or even
going in a temple.
we can do it here only.
Where?
If we can make sure that they will not make mess, then we can do it anywhere.
Yeah, but here in all of
we should clean it over there after we finish.
Yeah, we can.
Where?
We can
The
ensure.
temple,
we should clean here also. Good question.
They're cleaning it over here, we might as well clean
Suvarna Krishna Prabhu just told me that there has been another complaint over here that 2 weeks back or 3 weeks back, I don't know whether it was a cake cutting ceremony. So on that day there were things lying around here. So we need to ensure when we go we keep it absolutely clean. So in future there will be no eatables related function here. No eating, distributing, prasada, nothing. If at all there is one plate, Janeshwar Prabhu goes around with that, with the nectar of immortality, So we can distribute it outside.
Not just in this hall, even downstairs. So the mess was not in this hall, it was downstairs, on the stairs and walkway out.
So that what, I don't know what to do, but... Huh? Cake, so no more cake. वो cake उस दिन नीचे कटा था. So no more of that here. We will not do it obviously because otherwise we will lose the source. We lose this venue forever. We don't want to do that. Okay. So we'll work that out offline. But in the meantime, please keep the children quiet. Now it's very good. At this point in time, it's perfect. If it's like this always, it's so good. This place like Vaikuntha then. All right. So karma and desire. So this verse is all about that. So based on one's desire, one gets a body to enjoy. So at the time of death, what happens? The soul leaves the body. And then the subtle body carries the soul. And then along with the paramatma, then the soul goes into another body based upon one's desires. So it's very important that we develop right association. in this lifetime of people who are completely exhausted with their material desires. It's very important to keep continuous association with such personalities. Because only people who have exhausted their material desires will give us advice to exhaust our material desires. People whose desires are, in Tamil there is one song, Asaye Alai Bole. You know that song, Mataji? So we discussed that a few classes back, no?
He's singing the song also.
He's singing the song also. Okay. Rishabh Prabhu also knows that song. Namallam Adil Mele. So there is no, Asay Alai Pole means what? The desires are like waves, and we are on top of those waves, floating around wherever the wave takes, like that. Okay. So we should not be like that. So we have to go and when we take association of people who have such desires, they will fan our material desires also. Arey Prabhu, same old car? Kya ho gaya Prabhu? See the latest one in the market, like that. And then our material desires will also come. Like that. So we have to really keep our association very good with these people who have simplified their lives. Otherwise we'll go on complicating our lives. And then the problem is that even if we are not able to attain those material desires, as long as that longing is there, we have to come back into the material. Okay? And who wants to come back into Kali Yuga? One more lifetime sounds very difficult, no? Anyone who thinks that material life is easy in this room, one more lifetime, just one more, it's very scary. Going to school all over again. God knows in which country we will be born.
Maharashtra.
Right? Huh?
Just the news in Maharashtra, then the little kids were raped in Maharashtra school.
Yeah. In schools, people are crushed at school, na? Yeah. So the world is going to dogs now. Absolutely. Every day there is no good news. In the newspaper you see, everywhere there is rape, murder, father killing son, son killing mother. This is what is going on. There is no point in coming back to this material world. But desire is the biggest risk that we will come back to this material world. So we have to go deep into the Shastras. As His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj was saying, that when he was meditating in the Himalayas, in Journey Home book, then there was a fish which was swimming and then it was caught by the eagle. And Maharaj says, if this fish would have been swimming deep in the water, then there is no way that the eagle of Maya could have caught it. So we have to swim deep into Bhakti. We cannot become surface devotees and just keep coming to the temple, Hari Bol, and those, upar se we say, upar se achhe, like that, No. We have to really go deep, become little bit more introspective and serious about our devotional life. And if we think that we will be in devotion half, then we will also be socially nice people, associating, going out, picnics, then life will give you more opportunities to go for such picnics in the next lifetime. Correct? I'm not saying we should not go for picnics. What I'm saying is that we really have to cut and focus because there is already so much of distraction in our life simply because of our jobs. Right? Jobs we cannot avoid. But there are other things which we can avoid. So why not then avoid all that and keep focus, go deep into Bhakti. So all of us, including myself, we have to keep focusing back on our goal of life. Otherwise, these desires, even the small vestiges or traces of desire that remain, can create a big risk for us. And when we come back again, if we get trapped, with some other desires, then again we are on a swing. And few more lifetimes. There is no point.
I was sometimes wondering, if someone has a desire but doesn't have the equivalent karmic currency to get that body, then in that situation what happens?
If someone has a desire but does not have the credits to get that means the person does not have enough good karma.
Then what happens to this next?
They will come back.
Ghost.
See, in this world, a person who does not have good karma has what? Bad karma. It's as simple as that. It's like the probability theory. P minus Q is equal to 1. P plus Q is equal to 1. And P is equal to 1 minus Q. Right? Simple. For the normal man, either he is engaged in good karma or he is engaged in bad karma. There is no other thing. It's only the devotees who are in between that, who have something called as akarma. Right? So for a person, for a normal worldly person, if he doesn't have any good karmas, but he has desires, that means he has got bad karma, and bad karma means you have to again come back into the material world. So whichever way you see, the person is coming back into the material world. Right?
But then the material nature will provide the chance again to to obtain that sort of body.
Correct.
It will get implicated until he receives it.
Pardon? Yeah, you keep coming back until your desires are fulfilled. Yeah.
I thought he said that if you don't have the desired karmic credits, what will happen to your desire? I mean, you get only if you have.
Desire will not go away, na?
So
you will have to
answer, Prabhu, sorry. The question is, you have the desire, but you don't have the balance of the...
Okay, let's
what will happen to that soul?
Okay, let me give you an example of such a case. Okay, such an example of such a case is a ghost. Okay, a person, they wanted to marry this girl. Okay, and she said refused. Spurned lover. No, we come. No, in times of India it comes. He was spurned. Therefore, he writes a chit and commits suicide. Okay, so there is a desire to obtain a particular another soul. Correct, to enjoy with that soul. But the desire was not there, so gone. Now there is a desire, but at the same time you have done a sinful activity. Because this body is not ours. We cannot do anything with this body. So the person has gone against the order of nature and committed and ended the residence in that body. Correct? It's like, this body is like a jail. If you run away from jail, what is going to happen? Are they going to reward you? In fact, the punishment is even more. Right? So this is like running away from the jail. So the person is going out. Now the person is not even getting a jail to stay in. So it's a miserable condition. There is a desire to enjoy. Desire has not gone. There is frustration, so the person came out of the body. But the desire to associate is there, but the person cannot. Because there is no body. And that's a miserable state. This is an example. So it doesn't mean that the person gets liberated after that. Person has to be in this material world somehow till the good karma is developed so that desire can be fulfilled. In fact, Dhritarashtra's case is like that. Dhritarashtra, he killed birds in a ghosla, in a nest. Right? And then what happened was his 100 Kaurava sons had to be killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So he asked, but why after so many lifetimes this punishment? That nest I burnt so many janmas ago. But he said to get a human birth, to undergo that punishment, you had to come back into the material world and create good karma so that you get a human birth. And the moment your good karma ended, your bad karma kicked in and then your sons died. So this is merciless, if you see one sense. The laws of nature, material nature are merciless. In Hindi movie, there is always one dialogue, Kanun ke jazbaat nahi hote. They always, the hero is shouting, Kyu hua? Aisa. They say, Kanun doesn't have emotions. Law does not have emotions. Okay, so there is no emotions that will work here. If we desire, we have to come back into this material. It's an autopilot. The whole program is on autopilot, except for those people who have surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ayur varati hai pumsam udyan ashtam jayanasav tasyarte yakshanonita uttama shloka vartaya. With every rising and setting of the sun, we are one step closer to death, except for those people who have surrendered to Uttama Shloka. The Lord is also called as Uttama Shloka. His Holiness Vedas Priya Maharaj was mentioning that, 2-3 days back in his last lecture. The Lord is called as Uttama Shloka. Vedas Priya Maharaj was explaining or somebody else was explaining? Yeah, Maharaj only explaining, yeah. In the seminar, evening seminar, he was saying, Uttama Shloka Vataya. So, only people who are surrendered by mercy of the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, by their recommendation, then we can be saved, right? But we have to develop the right association. Otherwise, it's very dangerous coming back into this material world. We cannot ever think that we are happily settled. This material world is designed to frustrate us. So we should not get too engrossed with our careers and this and that, and I will grow, I will work and whatever. Really simplify the life very quickly, become serious and go back to Godhead in this lifetime. All of us have to become very serious, and we have to help each other also. If I see that you are not serious, I should catch you and then tell you, Prabhu, and if you see me, you should catch me. Prabhu, kya ho raha hai? Like that. Friendship doesn't mean that I scratch your back, you scratch your back. We say Hari Bol, Prabhu, and you also say Hari Bol, and all of us are scratching each other's back, and we are all glorifying one another. तब तक relationship अच्छा है. Moment मुझे कुछ बोल दिया तो फिर मेरे चेहरे में 12:30 बजेंगे. Not like that. Then there is no friendship, na. If that is the case, फिर क्या friendship है? फिर तो everything is very external there. Very nice. Then it is a social relationship. Devotees don't get into social relationships, right? Yes, we do some social relationships, okay, with people. But our main goal is what? Of any relationship, what is our main goal? To just go to each other's house and have prasadam? Is that our goal? What is our goal in any relationship? What are we looking for? To assist each other in Krishna consciousness. There is no purpose otherwise in any relationship. We are not in a relationship of sense gratification with each other. Right? In the name of socialization and whatever. So we really have to understand this. And it is good that we have relationships with people who do not fan our material desires and who cut it in the bud. Sometimes we may feel bad, "Arey yaar, ye kya hai? Maja nahi aaya isme." Okay? But what are we doing? Are we not helping? Yes. We are helping people come out of this miserable material world. So we have to take it seriously. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 5, text 1. Have you on the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 5th canto, 5.5.1, you can go home and have a look at this verse. There is a very famous teachings of Lord Rishabh, who is the origin of the Jain religion. So he says, Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kashtan kaman arhate vid bhujambiye po divyam yena sattvam Sudhya ismat brahma saukhyam anantam. So if you want, you can go ahead and by heart that verse and meditate on that verse. What is the meaning of that verse?
Of all the living entities who has taken the human form of life,
Yes.
did not waste his life in sense enjoyment, which is available even for hawks and dogs. One should...
Okay, slowly. Okay. So what did Mataji say? We should not waste human form of life in sense gratification, sense enjoyment, which is even available to the hogs and dogs. Pigs are also enjoying. Like that. Okay. Next. What should we do then, Mataji?
One should... one should do the austerities to achieve the permanent happiness.
Correct. Tapo divyam brahma saukyam. So we must try to attain eternal happiness and not be satisfied with the temporary happiness that this material world gives us. Never be satisfied with that. We must progress towards that all the time. And devotees will keep reminding us all the time if we are forgetting our goal of life and simply engaged in pleasing people. Many times we put across the most key devotional decisions in our life simply to please our family members. Okay? We have to please understand that they are our family members only in this lifetime. They will be gone. Okay? And if we try to please them, we will also be gone. Correct? So no family member is more important than our relationship with our Supreme Father. Right? If the family members are coming in the way of our spiritual life, okay, what we should do? We should try to develop very good relationships with them such that they will become devotees. If they are adamant, then we should say Hari Bol and continue with our devotional life. No compromising on devotional life or postponing key devotional decisions. Okay, just because Prabhu, we have a family, my father is not talking to me, my mother is not talking to me and all those things. Right? If we keep on doing that, we will never get anywhere in our spiritual life. That day will never come. Someday hard decisions have to be taken. Devotional decisions cannot be postponed. No, I don't think anybody in this room does not have money for food or something like that. Even if we are never earning any naya paisa from today, I'm sure we will not struggle for food. So we actually know, and what more we need. Right? Even the Dharmendra said, no, dal roti khao, Prabhu ke gun gao. There was one song in Hindi. Correct? So all we need is that dal roti and to take the name of the Lord. Right? At least in old days, Bollywood had such messages for us. Right? Today there is a different message. Dhoom macha de dhoom there. Right? So much change is there in the message that even cinema industry gives us. Correct? But actually that is a good message. Dal roti khao, Prabhu ke gun gao. That is actually what Prabhupada is also saying. Just make enough to maintain body and soul and live happily. But nahi hota hai, because there is a bug. There is a bug which tells us no, work more, like that. Of course, some of us are caught in this trap also. Though we have enough money in India, we can't go back. We discussed, 2 classes back. Why we can't go back? Because children don't want to come. Right? And here, the government is so merciful on us that they have increased now, I think, retirement to 70 or something. What is it? So there is no retirement here. By the time we will collapse, I think we will have to go to office. I don't think our dead body will even go from home. It will leave from office only. They will call ambulance and they will put us in that. Can you take it directly to the cemetery? Thankfully, their cell phone will not come to us. There also, otherwise they will call. Can you complete one last word? This corporate life is like that. Okay. So this is life. Now, who wants to come back to this world? So we have to get serious and simplify and go back. Because unless we are simple, we cannot make our children simple. Shabdabaram Prabhu, I am not saying you should leave Australia by this, okay? I am saying that we should earn enough to keep our body and soul together, no doubt. And after that we should retire early. Please don't get me wrong.
You said that we have.
We have. That is another trap. Children don't come out to. We have to wait till they come of age and become independent. And then we have to go. Correct, no?
Sometimes,
but because see, at the end of the day, it's not about going to India. Okay, retirement is not going to India. Sometimes we think that retirement means going to India. Yes, in India only we can retire. That is a different thing. But retirement doesn't mean only going to India. Okay, because in India also, when we go, in fact, India it's even worse. Here at least we can focus on devotional life. In India you have Star TV, Sun TV, neighbors, relatives. Continuously, there is Adi Bhautik misery. In India. At least here that is less. People will leave us alone with what we are doing. And job. What to speak of job? In India, nobody can get up at 6 o'clock and go home. Boss will say, are you going half day or what today? Yeah, it's like that. I remember. So therefore, Kashtan Kaman Arhate Yad with Bhujamgir. So one should understand that there is something higher in life. And then we can taste. Just like I think Vedas Priya Maharaj again was giving this example that the foolish animal does not know, it is the donkey, was saying, that the grass is available free of cost. Still the donkey only wants to carry all the load of its master and waiting for the master to give the same grass, which is already available. Right? So in one sense we are also like that. Retirement is available but we don't want to take it. We want to work and then take the retirement. Like that. Then there is another verse which follows that, 5.5.4. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yad indriya pritaya apranoti. Na sadhu manye yatha, sorry. Not sadhu manye, forgot. Yatha atmano, something. Huh? Sorry? Arvind Asan api kleshada asa deha. Can anyone read the translation? Again, beautiful translation. Please read, no? Whoever has.
When a person considers sense gratification,
please hear carefully. Please read loudly, Prabhu.
When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activity of sense gratification by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another.
See, very powerful, no? Lord Rishabh Dev's instruction this is. Directly Supreme Personality of Godhead is telling us. Don't get too caught up in the cycle of birth, disease, old age and death. Keep life simple. Keep life simple. That is a message again and again told by the Acharyas. So daily it is very important to hear these messages. If we don't hear these messages for 2 days, material advertisements will capture us. Right? So we have to always keep tuned to the spiritual advertisements every day. The FM radio of hearing should continue day after day. Otherwise it will not come. We will again get sucked into this beautiful material energy. Yes, Lord.
So what happens if a person has got material desires and then start bhakti? What happens to the remaining desires? Do they still keep on coming or something happens to them?
If a person starts bhakti with material desires,
now the desires are already there, but somehow the bhakti starts. What will happen to the remaining desires which are still there in the heart?
So bhakti is a process which will destroy right from the very root. Material desires are there because of ignorance, right? That is the root cause, no? Avidya. So what will happen? We already studied that. Right from avidya, bijam, kutam, everything will go away. Right? The desires are what? Bijam, no? Desire to enjoy. That leads to then an activity, a plan for an action to enjoy. Desire leads to a plan leads to activity. Correct? So everything will go away. It is also mentioned, there is one interesting verse, I think I had that here, somewhere in my notes. In the next verse I wanted to say that, but because you have asked this question, I will preempt. Because, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto. You can refer 3.5.13. 3513. Shraddha dhanasya vivardhamana viraktim anyatra karoti pumsam. Hare pada anusmriti nirvritasya samasta dukkha apyayam asudhatte. Is it there?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what does it say? What does the verse say?
For one who
Can everyone read the translation loudly and nicely?
For one who is anxious to
Nobody can hear you. Some takada voice is required.
For one who is anxious to engage constantly in hearing such topics, Krishna Katha gradually increases his indifference towards all other
Slow,
beings.
don't turn. Slowly. For one
who is anxious to engage constantly in hearing such topics, which is Krishna Katha, gradually increases his indifference.
So when you hear Krishna Katha regularly and you are anxious to hear daily, what happens? It increases the indifference to the
other things.
To the other things.
All other things. Such constant remembrance of the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna by the devotee who has achieved transcendental bliss vanquishes all his miseries without delay.
Vanquishes all his miseries without delay. Samasta dukkha apyayam asu. Again the word asu. Asu means patafat. Asu dhatte. Immediately it goes away. So therefore, what is important? What is the end? What are we communicating so far? Where are we coming? What's the point of all this? What are we supposed to do daily? Hearing. If we don't hear, we are finished. That MP3 player is our rocket for escaping the material world. Seriously, is it not? That MP3 player is our rocket for escaping the material world. It is our space shuttle. It is our space suit, if you like. We cannot escape without that MP3 player. It has to be loaded with lectures, and every day we have to listen. That is the practical application of whatever is being spoken here. We have to be constantly reminded. Constant hearing only will give us the motivation to pursue spiritual life. Otherwise, our spiritual life will become a routine, and it will not lead us. It will not accelerate the process just by following a routine. It will become very mechanical. Constant hearing will keep refreshing this in our mind. Like that. Yeah.
So at various stages we have different desires, and eventually we become devotees and we remain Mishra Bhaktas until, let's say, until we die, for example. And Prabhupada has said 70% will take you through the battle. So how does that 30% of desires, if we still have, how is that going to work?
Right now our worry, because Prabhupada said 30% desires I will still take you, our worry should be how do I attain that 70% first? Our worry is not that if 30% is left. Because right now we are probably 30% spiritual and 70% material. So first we should worry about coming to the 70%. Then we will talk about that.
For those who have 70%.
They will go back. If you also want to join them, then you also then become 70%.
So for them, that 30% is okay.
For them, Prabhupada is saying that. Yeah. It should not happen that everyone is boarded the bus and we are waiting outside and they are saying, "No, we don't want that to happen. No? I'm going to Vaikuntha, see you later. No? We don't want that to happen. It's very miserable. No? So we all have to go back. In this lifetime, no 70%, 30%. We have to do our best effort. Prabhupada said that, but what Prabhupada is saying that you die on the battlefield struggling sincerely. Our proxy actually, but Prabhupada said 70-30%. What is the principle behind that? What is the principle? Principle is, are we sincere in our struggle? Okay. It is not about how much anarthas have gone at the end of the lifetime. Because anartha nivritti is really we cannot control that. Because the results of our activities are not in our hands. So Lord is only going to say, okay, he has sincerely struggled. When will Prabhupada give a recommendation? When we have sincerely struggled. Do you remember? Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj told a very beautiful example. I think it was in Sydney retreat, no? It was here only he wrote, no? That one person did not write any answer in the exam because he did not know the answer. Another person wrote some 5-10 pages. He kept on writing. And it was all balderdash, whatever he wrote. Nonsense it was. Okay? But still, what happened? The examiner said, no, at least this poor fellow has tried to scribble something, you know. 5-6 pages likha hai bande ne. So let us give marks. Something we will give. And therefore he passed. Right? So we have to struggle. Lord is only seeing the sincerity with which we are doing the effort. Okay? If that is not there, then we will have to come back into the material world. If by sincerely trying, still we are not able to achieve, then Lord Krishna says, Yoga Kshemam, I will carry whatever you are lacking, ठीक है मैं डाल देता हूँ on your behalf. But you do your effort. For us, following the 4 regulative principles and chanting 16 attentive rounds itself is a big problem. And that's all Prabhupada wants us to do. Our biggest challenge as Grihasthas is to control sex desire within the Grihastha ashram. This is the biggest challenge. Correct? Everyone will agree to this. Correct? So that has to be controlled first. Then all the Raga, Nuga and all is later on. Correct? Pehla idhar problem hai. Right? So that is where, so these 4, Prabhupada, actually if you see, it was very profound. Prabhupada said, you follow 4 regulative principles, chant 16 attentive rounds, I will take you back to Godhead. Actually, it sounds easy. अच्छा इतना ही कर रहा है क्या? And Prabhupada ले जाएंगे. But यही तो problem है. If we do this, then everything else will be solved for us. There is nothing else to be done outside of this anyway. Who is asking us to do any circus outside of this? No Shastras is telling us to do anything outside of this. Right? 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, easy. No intoxication, easy. No gambling, very easy. Prabhu, I don't gamble on the stock market also. Okay, chalo, stock market also gone. But this illicit sex is the most difficult. Outside marriage, no problem, Prabhu. Everyone is my brother and sister. No problem. That also we are okay. Main problem comes within marriage. Okay. So that if we are able to control, and 16 rounds attentively if we are able to do, we will go back to Godhead. There is nothing more to be done anyway in Bhakti. Correct, no? Then we are living a pure life. We are living a pure life. And there is no doubt we will go back to Godhead after that. This is the problem. So rather than focusing on everything else, let us only put our efforts, including myself, let us all put our efforts only in this. Let us help each other in taking each other back to Godhead with these things. In fact, probably, Aniruddha Prabhu is going to make it very easy for all of us now. He has put that guideline even for shelter stage. So to take shelter itself, we have to come to that platform. So fine, which means what? The process is getting accelerated of going back to home, back to Godhead. If you see it in that light, that is an advantage to that. Of course, devotees have to be given time because it's a very high standard. Not having relationship within Grihastha ashram is a very, very high standard. Alright? But then we have to come to that standard anyway in this life at some point in time. If we keep indulging, then there is by such indulgence one day Vaikuntha Viman is not going to come and then say that okay, chalo, try kiya tune sincerely. No, it is not going to happen like that, correct? We will only be able to board that plane if we have tried sincerely. Otherwise we will have to come back again because the desire is still there, no? Right? Even within the institution of marriage, that desire is still there. So we will have to come back and again fulfill another lifetime. Chalo, okay, marry, again fulfill that desire. So that has to be, and that is only possible by constantly hearing and associating in Vaishnavas. So this is a serious matter and time is less in our hands. It takes time. Everyone agrees. Anartha Nivritti takes time. Everyone agrees to that. Nobody will say, hey, Prabhu, ho jayega. Ek hafte mein bindas. ऐसा होता है क्या? It takes time. It takes time. But that time, that process has to start now of reaching there. So that is very important. Otherwise, one more lifetime, at least. Now, whichever body we get, hog or dog or donkey, paramatma still comes with us everywhere. So that is definitely there. So the Lord is very merciful. Okay? So now we'll go a little bit more. We'll go in 4th gear in the class. Otherwise, we will not complete. Okay? So I will take questions towards the end, if there is time. Otherwise, in the next class, we will take the questions. But we will finish the chapter. Everyone happy with that approach? Otherwise, we will not finish the course in this lifetime. We have to make another lifetime to finish the Bhakti Shastri degree. Okay.
15 minutes.
Huh?
No, 15 minutes.
What 15 minutes?
9:15.
No, sorry. We have 35 minutes for the class. Okay. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among all species, among various species. So, the solution for dress change, we have already discussed this also in one sense. Solution for changing the dress, material dress is what? Hearing in the association of saintly persons. Hearing in the association of saintly persons will make us lose our Purusha Bhava. Purusha Bhava means what? I am the enjoyer. I can enjoy this body. So, that Purusha Bhava will go away. Okay, because Lord is the only Purusha. Okay. And by hearing from saintly personalities, we will develop the right desires. When we develop the right desires, automatically the wrong desires will go away. So right now, even I know for many of us, even if we are thinking that it is a big challenge to follow the four regulative principles within Grihastha Ashram, we should not focus on the how should I forcefully control that desire. That is not the way. What we should do, we must engage more on this side. Okay, not worry about that side. Okay, if we constantly worry about that side, we can't do anything anyway. क्या कर सकते हैं? We can't do anything, correct? So worry more on this side. Put the spiritual gear high. By doing that only, that will go away. Does it make sense? Okay. Not by trying to attack it from any other way. It is not possible. Artificially, can we do anything? It's just like cigarette smoking. कल से बंद. 31st of December, New Year resolution, no cigarette. Then 2nd December, I थोड़ा तलब लगाया. खाली one बीड़ी, little bit. No, I had friends like this. I know. In fact, one of my friends was like this. For at least 3-4 years, I remember. He said, "Abhi New Year se gali nahi dunga," and then he will give one gali at the end of the statement. New Year se gali nahi dunga, and then he will make one statement after that. And since childhood, and he could never come out of that habit. No? Till I saw him last in this lifetime. No? So it is like that. We can't give up without engaging in the process of bhakti, without putting our soul in the fire of bhakti, in the agni of bhakti, then we cannot have purification any other way. So let us not worry about those things. Those things will automatically happen. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Parajita Janayati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayada Hetukam. By engaging more and more in the activities of devotional service, automatically that causelessly it will happen. We will never know. Dekhte dekhte ho jayega wo bhi. Hare, have we not given up alcohol? Have we not given up, going to cinemas, Sun TV, Star TV, everything? And this will also go away. Why worry too much about it? Correct? But more important is these aspects. So let us focus on these aspects more. And again, that somebody had preempted, Shraddha Dhanasya, that's in my notes, Viraktim. That Virakti will automatically happen when we hear Krishna Consciousness topics. And for such a devotee who has achieved that Virakti, Viraktim Anyatra Karoti Pumsam, who has attained such detachment, there is no such thing as material existence. So, this is the goal also of the Bhakti Shastri course, to develop that Virakti. The goal of any Shastric course is to develop detachment. As we hear more and more messages of Bhagavad Gita, it's not to get a certificate and say that I am Bhakti Shastri Jagannath Ram. Not like that. Okay? With a chadar on your shoulder like that. Shastri ji aage. It is not like that. The goal of this course is to develop detachment. That's the only, and to develop attachment to devotional service, to develop detachment from the material energy and attachment to the spiritual energy. That is the goal of this course. And if this course somehow some traces are left, then Bhakti Vaibhava will remove. After that some traces are left, then Bhakti Vedanta degree will remove. And after that some little bit more Shendi is left, then Bhakti Sarvabhauma will clean it completely. When we hear the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So stay tuned to these courses. Complete your degree fast. Complete your assignments on time. Otherwise next lifetime again for coming up with assignments. Correct? And again, you cannot tell that Prabhu last lifetime I had completed module 3 and 4. It will not work like that. You have to start again from Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra. Verse 23 and 24. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Super Soul. So in this body there is not only we, yet there is one more person, who is the Super Soul. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, which is Prakriti, the living entity, Jiva, and the interaction of the Guna, the modes of nature, is sure to attain liberation. One who understands this science of how this works is sure to attain liberation. Because only that person can attain liberation who knows the science of entanglement. Does it make sense? If you don't know the science of entanglement, you will not know how to get out of it. Correct, no? If you don't know how the lock works, by which your feet have been tied to the jail kamba, the rods of the jail. If you don't know how the mechanism of the lock, how it works, then you will not know how to get out of that jail. So we need to know that mechanism, how it works. That's why we are studying the 13th chapter. Because we will know that why things are happening in our life the way they are happening. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. As long as we understand this science. So, the difference, or in one sense the relationship between Paramatma and Jiva, the two Kshetrajnas, is mentioned here. It is mentioned that the Jiva is called as the Bhukta, which means the sustained, and the Paramatma is called as the Bhokta, or the maintainer. Original Prabhu writes that in his commentary. So, the Paramatma plays several roles. What are the roles Paramatma plays? Witness, overseer, permitter, functioner, and supreme enjoyer. And Prabhupada, Original Prabhu writes, above all this, a friend. He is a friend. He will guide us properly in that direction. Who else will come with us when we are in the body of a donkey? Correct? Paramatma will come to guide us. Like that. So the Lord instructs from within as well as from without. From within he instructs us as Paramatma. From without he instructs us through the Shastras, like Bhagavad Gita, for example. From outside we are getting this instruction. And it is up to the Jiva to either accept or reject this instruction. If you accept this instruction, you are moving towards liberation. If we reject this instruction, we are moving towards more and more bondage. That's another point that is coming across in the purports. So, therefore Prabhupada writes, this science one has to know. This relationship between the Jiva, the Prakriti and the Paramatma, one must know. And that is the goal of all knowledge. That is the goal of all material knowledge, if you see in one sense. We must understand this relationship, how the material energy works. Now, there is a question that may come in mind. Are there methods to gain liberation other than those that have just been described? Right? If you read surrendering unto me. So, Original Prabhu ends with this question. Are there methods to gain liberation other than those that have just been described? That is mentioned in verse 25, 26 and so on. Let's read. Some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires. So, jnana, dhyana, jnana and karma yoga, right? This is what it means. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about Him from others. Do you know of anyone? All of us, right? Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. That's what we were discussing all this while. That's why we are going fast now. We already discussed these points. We must hear. That's the key message. So Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that there are two types of conditioned souls. Conditioned soul itself is into two categories. On one hand are the atheists, agnostics, and the skeptics. Alright? Atheist is a person who says he does not believe in God. Agnostic is a person who is not sure. Okay? Or a skeptic. 50-50. Not made up his mind whether God exists or doesn't exist. And versus on the other side, we will find faithful people. Amongst faithful people, everyone is not a philosopher necessarily. There are people who are, everyone is not a devotee. Some are philosophers, some are fruitive workers, amongst the faithful also. You call people for the Bhakti Vriksha program, they said, हम भगवान को मानते हैं, हमारे भी घर में पूजा पाठ होता है, they will say. Okay. Or in Tamil, நாங்களும் பூஜை புனஸ்காரம் எல்லாம் பண்றோம். Like that they will say, கோவிலுக்கெல்லாம் போவோம், we will go to the temple, very nice family we are, like that. Correct? So they are faithful, but they don't know the science of going back to Godhead. So not all faithful people know the science. Just like not all students of the Bhakti Shastri class will necessarily know the Bhagavad Gita. Correct? One has to study like that. One has to hear and study. Okay. So, and then it is said that Prabhupada writes that Mayavadis or monists are in the same category as atheists. Okay. The moment you say that you are Bhagavan, I am Bhagavan, that means you don't believe in the existence of a separate God. Then you are an atheist. Right? So Prabhupada writes that. And then the other point that is coming across in this purport is devotees of Bhagavan are best suited to understand paramatma. It is the best way to understand Super Soul by the process of devotional life. Prabhupada writes that Sankhya philosophers are also counted amongst the faithful people. So there is some people attain the Paramatma knowledge through devotion, some people attain through meditation, and some people attain through Sankhya. And Prabhupada writes that Sankhya Yoga philosophers put the soul as the 25th item. Okay? Because they are trying to understand the soul, the spiritual through analysis of the material energy. Correct? So there are 24 material elements. So they initially put the soul also as the 25th element. And when they do their analysis, they eventually understand that the soul is not matter, but the soul is transcendental. Once they understand that, then their study opens up to a new dimension of spirit. So now they have seen the small Chota spirit. So now they will now go and inquire into who is the Mota spirit, the universal spirit. Okay, so Prabhupada says that when they understand the soul is not matter but transcendental, then they also understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead above the soul as the 26th element. Because for them all their whole study is about elements. So through that also they will come to the understanding that there is a 25th and 26th element which are transcendental. They may be elements but they are not material elements. Like that. But in their language, because they use the word elements, so Prabhupada is connecting in that language. And they will gradually come to devotion. In fact, if you read the Sankhya Yoga chapters, anyone has read Kapila? I know people who are doing Bhakti, Vaibhav, who have completed would have read. But in the Sankhya Yoga section, I still remember what is the goal of all Kapila Muni's teachings to Devabhuti. It is mentioned, the goal is Hridaya Granthi Abhedanam. Prabhupada writes in the purport that once we understand the Sankhya Yoga, then it must cut the knot of material attachment. That is the goal of all philosophy. It must cut material attachment. Otherwise, philosophy is not working. Then Prabhupada writes that still others practice Dhyana Yoga and they are also eventually situated transcendently. Dhyana Yoga means what? People meditate inside the Paramatma. We have already discussed. Jnana Yogis see Brahman. Dhyana Yogis go within. Jnana Yogis see outside Brahman. Dhyana Yogis close their eyes and meditate source of Brahman, which is also localized as Paramatma inside their heart. So they also attain that way. Then Prabhupada talks about the Hatha Yogis. He ends the purport by talking about Hatha Yogis. Prabhupada says they try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities.
Why does he say like that?
I don't know. I tried to see Hatha Yoga, but I couldn't connect to as to why. So this is one question for the Karapa. Why Prabhupada calls the Hatha Yoga as childish activities? I actually studied a little bit of Hatha Yoga, but mostly what happens is, maybe Prabhupada is writing this because, again I should not speculate, we'll consult an authority, but when I saw the more and more of Hatha Yoga, it has only become a physical exercise. Okay, Hatha Yoga components are more and more physical exercise. Jumping, doing exercises and all that. So maybe Prabhupada is saying that their consciousness of these Hatha Yogis is not evolved to seek something higher. They are still trying to just, try to attain peace within the material world.
Actually, in one of the lectures, Prabhupada says that we are not interested in this fat-reducing yoga.
Fat-reducing yoga, yeah. So that's what I also inferred when I read this. Okay, that's why Prabhupada may be mentioning childish. But again, because there is no direct explanation of this, we will consult the higher authorities. Put it in the car park.
So are we categorizing Adayogis into the east side and will they reach the understand the soul?
Who?
Adayogis.
Slow process. All other forms of yoga is slow process. When the body is relaxed, the mind is also under control. When the mind is in control, then you will start thinking about some transcendence.
But there is no element of bhakti or any thoughts of finding.
That's why it's a long process. Yeah, eventually they have to come to a devotee. They have to come to a devotee. And then it will all start. But to come to a devotee also you need your mind to be clear. No? At least somewhere you should have the intelligence to come to a devotee first. Right? When we have a problem, intelligence should tell us go to a doctor. If that is not there, then you are not even solving the problem. Right? Okay. And Prabhupada concludes by saying, modern day men, whichever category they belong to, can simply attain paramatma realization by hearing from devotees, and then they will go back to Godhead. So again, that point is reiterated. Now verses 27 to 35 is essentially a summary of the whole thing. It summarizes and explains how to distinguish the Kshetra from the Kshetrajna. That's all what 27 to 35 is about. So let's quickly go through that. Verse number 27. O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both moving and non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Okay, combination of the field of activities. Based on what? The influence of the three modes of material nature. Now, I don't know whether any of you have read this book called as Essence of Bhagavad Gita by His Grace Radhesham Prabhu. Have you read that? Okay. So if you read that book, it's an amazing book. Okay. I read it few years back and I still have it. I lent it to someone and they have not returned it. I don't know who is that. Most probably Ajay Prabhu, I think. You have to catch it. Okay. I sometimes lend this book to people who are preparing to give a Saturday feast class. It's a very nicely written book. Radhesham Prabhu is the temple president of ISKCON Pune. He's also an IIT President's Gold Medalist. If you get a chance, read it. So he explained three modes of material nature like nobody else has explained to me till today. How they completely weave you into an illusory experience. He gives a simple example. He says there are three principal colors. Now he writes, people see a beautiful painting of Mona Lisa. The moment you ask someone, what is this? Even the highest intellectual person will say, what? This is Mona Lisa. But actually, is it Mona Lisa? It's nothing but a combination of three basic colors. Everything that you see is a combination of three basic colors. Every painting. But when you see it, it gives you infinite depictions. Three basic colors. Can you imagine this? And that is what the three modes of material nature does. And Prabhupada writes that also in one of the purports. I don't remember which section it was, but Prabhupada writes this, that 3 into 3 is 9 and 9 into 3 is 27 and then 27 into 3 is 81. Prabhupada writes this equation somewhere.
Prabhupada spoke in many words in this one.
In this one? He spoke about this. Okay. I forgot which section it comes under, but in Bhagavad, Prabhupada writes that purport. Okay. Permutations and combinations of three modes of material nature give rise to infinite desires. But all different combinations of three modes of material nature. Somebody wants to eat and to enjoy sex. Somebody wants pride with eating. Somebody wants pride with sex. Correct? Somebody wants money with pride. So many combinations. Three modes of material nature. So all these desires are, someone wants peace with money. Right? So many combinations are there. And therefore, to suit each and every combination, there is species of life to fulfill that particular permutation and combination of desires. So like that. So if you go back to read this translation, O chief of Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and non-moving, is only a combination of the fields of activities and the knower of the field. One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed actually sees. He is now, who is a seer? A person who जो हट के देखता है, who is able to come out and see that I am not this body. I am trapped in this body. And then there is a super soul also guiding me. That person is a true seer. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Why he does not degrade himself by his mind? Because he listens to not the mind but to the super soul. In Bollywood there is one song, Man Ki Suno Tum. The movie is also called as Man, I think. No? Anyone remembers this song? It was a movie which I saw in Ahmedabad many years back. No? So I heard this. No? Man Ki Suno Tum. So, okay. So Man Ki nahi sunne ka. If you listen to the Man, then what will happen? You will remain in the material world. So Man ki na suno, paramatma ki suno tum. Correct? One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. Okay? So Srila Prabhupada reiterates that true knowledge is what? One who can see these three things combined together. Body, the proprietor of the body, and the paramatma, who is a friend of the individual soul. And such knowledge one can only get through the association of another person who is having that knowledge. Only possible through the association of such a knower. जो जानता है वही बता सकता है. Only who knows can teach this science. Okay. And then the other point that comes through is through such a knower, one knows transmigration of soul into another gross body, which we have already discussed. Subtle body carries along with the super soul to the next body. We discussed that also. And then it said that armed with this knowledge, the devotee gradually turns his mind from the sense objects towards the super soul. Again, instead of listening to the mind, which takes her towards Vishaya Chadiya. We divert the mind from the sense object to the instructions of the super soul. And then we can get liberated. So essentially, these points are being covered different ways. Same point is being explained, reiterated, hammered into our minds. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature. Okay, please hear attentively. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Okay. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. So, who is an actual seer is described here. So, desires we discussed before. Again, I said this is a summary, so you will find some points are repeating, right? So, desires are what create this material body. And why is this? Why do we get material body? So that we can fulfill those desires. Okay. So, because of our desires, a body is kept ready, and then the soul which is desiring enters that particular body. And when the soul enters that particular body, then the soul is forced to act according to the conditioning which that body enforces. Right? Right? Maharaj, Vedaspriya Maharaj was saying, if you keep gulab jamun and stool in front of hot gulab jamun and hot stool, Maharaj said, in front of warm stool, in front of a pig, then what will pig do? It is conditioned by its body. वो क्या करेगा? It just cannot appreciate gulab jamun, correct? And then it will go and eat the stool. In Tamil, what do you say? Correct? Which means what? English. Donkey cannot appreciate camphor. Yeah. So because then it can't appreciate now what to do. It just cannot appreciate that. क्या करेगा? It because of that body it cannot like that. See, just and another example also is given. if a voluptuous, it's written, somewhere I saw this in one of the PPT, if a voluptuous lady comes in front, a man is seeing and a tiger is seeing. Both are seeing differently. One is saying, oh, good food. One is saying, oh, nice sense enjoyment. Like that, correct? Each person is seeing the same object based on his or her conditioning, right? And if a pure devotee sees, then he says, oh, a soul is entrapped in this body. And because the body is voluptuous and the soul realizes that, the soul is even more entrapped. Just imagine, 3 different people seeing the same object, 3 different consciousness. So therefore, we are forced to act according to the conditioning. Therefore, our primary duty is to remove that conditioning in this lifetime. And then we become a seer of things as they are. 1 minute. So therefore, this whole life is a battle to change our conditioned natures. We have a constitutional nature and we have a conditioned nature. And on top of that, then we also discussed that, remember Govindru mentioned that we have also a circumstantial nature. Okay. So our whole fight is a fight against this conditioning, to remove that conditioning from our lives. Okay. Oh, just prove.
Prabhuji, can you explain the verse 30 again, please?
30. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees.
What does that mean, Prabhuji?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that I commit a crime and say my body did that.
Yes.
They will also say, yeah, we are only taking your body to the jail. They will also trick you. Correct? Why you are thinking you are in jail? Your body is in jail, they say. Okay.
It says self does nothing. What does that mean?
The self does nothing because the soul actually, again, this morning, did you attend the Bhagavatam class? No. Okay. This morning I was explaining this. Okay, there is Chatushloki of Srimad Bhagavatam. The second verse of Chatushloki, from where the whole Bhagavatam is expanded. Based on these 4 verses, 18,000 verses are expanded. Second verse is Rite Ratam Yat Pratiyeta Na Pratiyeta Cha Atmani Tad Vidya Atmano Mayam Yatha Bhasho Yatha Tamaha. Lord Krishna tells Brahma during the time of creation, when he is sitting on the lotus flower, that please understand, my dear Brahma, that whatever that you see which is not in connection with me, consider that to be illusion. A shadow which is in darkness. The Lord says. This is a translation of that verse. So therefore, when we connect, when we see the soul as different from Krishna, when we see the body also as different from a tool which is provided for liberation, when will we know that? Only when we understand the subject matter of Godhead, we will know what is the body. Right? As long as we don't understand that, then everything is illusion. Even our enjoyment is, actually our enjoyment, distress, everything is an illusory experience. The soul is untouched. Does it make sense? Yes. Everything is happening to the body. The soul is untouched. He is not doing anything. It's just like if you put a very nice big jacket on top of you, cover yourself completely and go and play Holi, then so many colors will come on you, but then all you have to remove is the dress and nothing is touching you. So soul is just untouched. So it is the body which is experiencing this material world. Sita, Ushna, everything is an experience of the body. So one who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created out of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Actually the soul doesn't get entangled with this material nature at all. The whole Prabhupada says the whole material, our whole birth and death is all a dream. It's an illusion. It is not false, but it is illusory. Illusion is also a reality, no? In one sense. Correct? When you see the movie, the fact that there is an illusion is a reality, but it is illusion. Does it make sense? But that illusion is a reality. Correct? So Jagat, what is it? Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Prabhupada says that is false. Because Mayavadis say that material world is false. It's not false, but it is illusory. It exists, but it is an illusory existence. That's what it means. When a sensible man, did we read this or no? We did. Okay. Those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Can you see this example? It doesn't mix with anything. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. So these three verses talk about the nature of soul and consciousness. Okay? In fact, the next verse also. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So, these verses talk about the nature of soul and consciousness. Activities which are performed by the soul due to contact with the material body does not entangle the soul. This point is a bit difficult to understand, which is why he asked that question. I know that question will come. I have actually written in my note that it is a difficult point to understand. But I have explained to you what it means now. Yeah.
Still not clear. Who is entangled? And if soul is not entangled, who is entangled?
Soul doesn't get entangled. This means what? Does actually soul get entangled? What did we study in second chapter? Nothing can impact the soul. The soul, see, the moment you say soul is entangled, that means something has come in contact with the soul and it is just entangled. The soul is completely trapped within, entangled means what? That it has got mixed with material nature. But the soul is not mixed, it's only covered. That's all. That's why I gave you that example. If you put an entire jacket, okay, and everyone is playing Holi, they are putting all rang on you. They are completely black, blue, green, all colors are there. All you have to do is that you have to remove that suit and throw it away and then you are there. Nothing has touched you. It's all outside that it has happened. But if you are associating with the jacket, then you feel that actually you have been thrown colors upon. Does it make sense? I'll give you another example. One saintly person, I don't know which Maharaj, but he said that why do people get so upset even if by chance someone bangs our car from behind? Because actually what has happened? One metal has contacted another metal. आपको क्या तकलीफ है उससे? But we think that you have banged me. That's why we get very upset. How dare you bang me, from behind? They have not banged you, they have banged your car. But because we have so much association that this is my car, this belongs to me, so we are actually thinking that they have hurt us. Even in office, sometimes, this feedback, even in management parlance it is given, that when you are given feedback, okay, then don't take it personally, they say. But we are so much connected with our work that we take it personally. Okay, it says that you have not done this job well. Some people, despite giving this instruction, they believe that, oh, you told me that I am useless. No, I am not good enough. No, we didn't say that you are not good enough. We said that you did not do this job good enough. Does it make sense? So we associate so much ourselves with our activities, with our body, with the results of our activities, that we start identifying with that. Because we are born in India, we all start thinking that we are Indians. But the soul, is it Indian? No. But because it's got a body in that particular field, in that geography, then we start associating with that. And then we start thinking that this is an enemy, this is an ally, all those things. So that is what it is saying. Actually the soul has got nothing to do with all these identifications, with all these activities. But because the soul associates so much with the three modes of material nature, it looks as if they are all, there is an illusory entanglement. But actually there is no real entanglement. This whole entanglement itself is an illusion. Does it make sense?
When you say soul is active, so in the sense like soul does nothing, how do we understand that?
The soul does nothing because the soul is untouched by all these things. The soul is Satchidananda Vigraha. The soul is untouched by karma. Does it make sense? It is only covered, that's all. All this is covering on top of the soul. But actually the soul does nothing. The soul is just going through this experience, that's all. Because it is under Maya. The soul is completely under the control of Maya. The Maya is taking the soul through an experience. Okay, because the soul has desired to experience the material world. So soul is getting this experience. That's it. Does it make sense? For example, if you are in a roller coaster, if you keep why do people close their eyes? To disassociate themselves from what is happening outside. Correct, no? But the moment you keep your eyes open, people are scared. Why? Why does this happen? The moment you start associating, if you see a movie, for example, Amitabh Bachchan is dying in the movie, Shah Rukh Khan is dying, but you are crying here. Why? Because you are so much absorbed. But actually what is it? It's an illusion. But then why are you crying? You are experiencing that. Correct? Because of your entanglement with that, you think that, oh, okay, actually someone is dead. But actually what is going on? There is a projector and there is an image. Correct? There is not even the personality is there in front of you. There is an image of that personality enacting a drama and you are crying. Correct? So that is how this is. Actually you are not entangled in that at all. But you are going through an illusory experience. Because at that point in time, you think that I am the central character over there. Does it make sense? Something like that.
Probably it's in chapter 5, number 14 and number 15 words. Jesus said a better explanation about this. Chapter 5, number 14 and 15 verses.
Okay. Okay, so let's do one thing. During the next class, then let us do that. Let us bring that point. During the recap, please mention that. Okay? So please mention those points in the next class. Because we have to end now. Those who see with eyes of knowledge. Sorry, did I complete everything? Yeah, sorry, I'll just finish this thing. So these three verses talk about nature of soul and consciousness. So we discussed that the soul does not get mixed up with the body, regardless of any activity. It doesn't get mixed up. Entanglement, what? It doesn't get. The soul and the body don't merge together. The soul still remains aloof. Otherwise, how? At the time of death, you cannot say, okay, मैं एक हाथ लेके जाता हूँ अगला body में. No, even if I have a donkey, 4 legs, at least I will have 2 human hands with me. उतना खाली लेके जाता हूँ. Is it possible? No. The soul leaves the body completely. Nothing it takes with us. So that shows that the soul is never attached. In one sense, it's not entangled with the body. Right? So scientifically, this cannot be ascertained. Right? A good example is given. Burijan Prabhu gives a nice example. He says, just like the air enters mud. Does air enter mud? Yes. Yes, it does enter the mud. No? The air enters water? Yes. Air enters stool also. But air does not mix with all these things. It is there in the interstitial spaces. Alright? But it doesn't get mixed. It is there, but it doesn't get mixed. Does it make sense or no? The air doesn't get mixed with the balloon. It just occupies space as the balloon expands. But air is not one with the outer covering. Right? Balloon pops, then air is still air. Like that. Analogy of the sun is also given here. Sun is situated in one place. It illuminates the entire universe. Soul too energizes the entire body. This is a symptom of consciousness, which we already saw in the section. And then Prabhupada reminds us that yet there is a super soul which is supreme conscious, whereas the soul is only conscious of its own individuality. Like that. In the final verse, verse 35. Those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature, attain to the supreme goal. So this gives the purport of the entire chapter. That in order to go to the supreme destination, one must know 3 things. What are the 3 things? Distinction between body, owner of the body, and the super soul. Distinction between the kshetra, owner of the body, which is the small p, Purusha, and the super soul, which is the big P. So that is one lesson we need to know to get liberation. Second lesson is that the constitution of the whole material manifestation is a combination of the soul and the material elements under the supervision and sanction of the Supreme Lord. An interaction. Whatever we see here is an interaction of the Jiva based on its desires with material nature under the sanction of Super Soul. So that we need to understand. And then from verses 8 to 12, we can go behind and then read later on after the class, where it talks about the process of liberation. So it's not only enough to know how the lock works, I know the mechanism, Prabhu, and how to get free. You have to also put the key in the lock and open the lock and then get free, right? Otherwise it becomes theoretical. Knowing the map to go a destination thoroughly doesn't mean that you will go to the destination. Uske you have to follow the instructions and then go to the destination also. So map is a guide. So simply knowledge of this will not give us liberation. We have to then follow the practices. So Srila Prabhupada concludes that through the association with devotees, one must understand this knowledge by taking shelter of a spiritual master, and through his guidance contemplate and develop a complete understanding of this particular chapter. So those who have not taken shelter, please hurry up. Don't delay it too much. Don't say that, family will be sad and, great grandmother will feel upset and all. Because we have very less time. Death can come any time. Please take shelter. The Prabhupada ki.